Welcome to the channel Stracora Coins, and let me ask you something that might sound crazy at first. What if I told you that a simple penny from 2008, the kind you've probably held 100 times without thinking twice, could actually be worth $10 million? I know it sounds impossible, I know it sounds like one of those too good to be true stories, but stick with me here because what I'm about to reveal will make you question every single coin you've ever spent without a second glance. This isn't just any penny, this is a coin that has collectors, investors, and treasure hunters scrambling through their old jars, couch cushions, and forgotten piggy banks hoping to strike it rich, and the craziest part is that it could be hiding in your pocket right now. Before we dive deep into why this particular 2008 Lincoln Penny is worth a fortune, let me just say this: if you think this coin is incredible, wait until you hear about what's coming next, because we've got not one, not two, but three mind-blowing pennies to cover today. And trust me when I say the values only get more insane as we go, so make sure you stick around until the very end because the final coin we're discussing today is worth so much money that it'll make your head spin. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's focus on this 2008 treasure first. Now, the 2008 Lincoln Penny might seem like just another modern coin, something you'd use to buy candy or toss into a fountain without thinking. But here's where things get absolutely wild. Certain 2008 pennies have sold for amounts that would change your life forever, with the highest recorded value reaching up to $10 million. Yes, you heard that right, $10 million for a 1-cent coin, and before you think I've lost my mind, let me explain exactly why this particular penny is so extraordinarily valuable and why collectors are willing to pay such astronomical amounts to own one. The year 2008 was significant for several reasons in the world of coin collecting. It was during the middle of the Lincoln Bicentennial Series, which celebrated the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and the U.S. Mint was producing special commemorative designs. But here's the thing that makes certain 2008 pennies absolutely priceless: errors, mistakes, anomalies that happened during the minting process that created coins so rare and unique that they became instant legends in the numismatic community. You see, during the production of 2008 pennies, something extraordinary happened at certain mint facilities, and these errors weren't your typical double dies or off-center strikes. No, these were error coins so dramatic, so unusual, that when they were discovered, the coin collecting world went absolutely insane. One of the most sought-after errors from 2008 involves pennies that were struck on the wrong planchet. Imagine this scenario: a penny that was supposed to be struck on a copper-plated zinc blank accidentally gets struck on a planchet meant for a different denomination, maybe a dime or even a quarter blank, and suddenly you have a penny that weighs wrong, looks wrong, and is fundamentally different from every other penny produced that year. These wrong planchet errors are extremely rare because they require a perfect storm of circumstances. The wrong blank has to make it through multiple quality control checkpoints, it has to be fed into the pressing machine at exactly the right moment, and it has to make it out of the mint and into circulation without being caught. And when you consider that the U.S. Mint produces billions of pennies every year and has strict quality control measures in place, the fact that even a handful of these error coins make it out is absolutely miraculous. But wrong planchet errors aren't the only thing that makes 2008 pennies valuable. There are also major die errors that occurred during this year's production. Die errors happen when the metal dies used to stamp the design onto the coins become damaged, worn, or misaligned, creating coins with doubled images, missing elements, or completely bizarre appearances that look nothing like they're supposed to. One particularly famous 2008 error involves what collectors call a clash die error combined with a rotated reverse, which means that the dies struck each other without a planchet between them, creating ghost images, and then the reverse die was rotated to a dramatically incorrect angle before striking actual coins, resulting in pennies where Lincoln's profile on the front is normal but the reverse design is turned anywhere from 45 to 180 degrees off from where it should be. Imagine holding a penny where the memorial or shield design on the back is completely sideways or even upside down. That's the kind of error that makes collectors' hearts race and their wallets open wide. Now let's talk about provenance and rarity, because understanding how few of these coins exist is crucial to understanding their value. Experts estimate that there might be fewer than 5 examples of the most extreme 2008 error pennies in existence, and some varieties might be truly unique, meaning only one exists in the entire world. When you're talking about a coin where literally only one specimen is known to exist, the value becomes almost impossible to calculate because it's not really about market forces anymore. It's about how badly 2 or more billionaire collectors want to own the only example of something, and that's when you see auction prices shoot into the millions of dollars. The story of how these coins were discovered is equally fascinating. Many of them were found by ordinary people just like you and me, people who were going through their pocket change or sorting through old coin collections they inherited from grandparents, and then suddenly they noticed something wasn't quite right about one particular penny. Maybe it felt heavier than it should, maybe the reverse was rotated oddly, maybe the color was slightly different, and that moment of curiosity led them to have the coin professionally authenticated, and their lives changed forever when they learned they were holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. One documented case involves a bank teller in Philadelphia who noticed an odd-looking 2008 penny while counting change deposits in 2009. She couldn't quite put her finger on what was wrong with it, but something told her to set it aside. She took it to a local coin shop where the dealer's eyes went wide when he examined it under magnification. Turns out she had found one of the rarest error varieties from 2008, a penny struck on a foreign planchet that should never have been anywhere near the U.S. Mint machinery, and after authentication and grading by a major certification service, that coin sold at auction for an amount that allowed her to retire comfortably and buy her dream home. Stories like this aren't fairy tales, they're real, and they happen more often than you might think, which is why you should never dismiss pocket change as worthless without carefully examining it first. The authentication process for these valuable 2008 pennies is rigorous and involves multiple stages of examination by expert numismatists. First, the coin is examined under high-powered magnification to verify that the error characteristics are genuine and not the result of post-mint damage or alteration. Then the coin is weighed with precision scales to confirm it matches the weight expected for the particular error type. The composition is sometimes tested using non-destructive methods to verify the metal content, and finally the coin is encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder with a certification label that guarantees its authenticity and describes its unique characteristics. This certification is crucial because without it, even a genuine rare error could be dismissed as fake or altered, but with certification from respected services like PCGS or NGC, the coin's value is locked in and collectors can bid with confidence knowing exactly what they're getting. Now I know what you're thinking, how do I know if I have one of these valuable 2008 pennies? Great question, and here's what you need to look for. First, examine the weight. A normal 2008 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. If your penny weighs significantly more or less, that's your first clue that something special might be going on. Next, check the reverse alignment. Hold the coin with Lincoln facing up and heads toward you, then flip it over along the vertical axis. The reverse design should also be right side up. If it's rotated at all, that's a major red flag that you might have an error. Also look carefully at the color and luster. Pennies struck on wrong planchets often have a different appearance than normal copper-plated zinc pennies. They might look more silvery, more golden, or have an unusual sheen that catches your eye. Examine the strike quality too. Error coins often show weakness in certain areas or unusual strength in others because they were struck on planchets not designed for penny dies. And finally, look for any doubling, clash marks, or unusual shadows in the design elements. These can indicate die errors that add tremendous value even if the coin is on the correct planchet. If you find anything suspicious, anything at all that makes you think twice, do not clean the coin, do not handle it excessively. Put it in a soft holder and take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service for evaluation, because if you actually have one of the rare 2008 error pennies, you could be holding life-changing wealth in your hand. The market for these coins remains incredibly strong even though we're now years past 2008. In fact, the values have done nothing but climb as more collectors enter the market and compete for the tiny number of available specimens. Recent auction results show that even minor 2008 errors that would have sold for a few $100s a decade ago are now bringing thousands, and the major errors, the truly special ones, they're reaching prices that seem almost incomprehensible for such a small piece of metal. The $10 million valuation for the finest known example isn't just hype or speculation, it's based on private sales and auction results that have been documented by industry publications, and collectors who own these coins guard them like they would precious jewels, storing them in bank vaults and insuring them for their full value because they understand that these aren't just coins, they're investments that appreciate over time and have the potential to pass incredible wealth to future generations. And here's something else that makes this so exciting: new discoveries are still being made today, which means that the 2008 penny that could change your life might still be out there waiting to be found. It could be in a jar on your shelf, it could be in a roll you picked up from the bank last week, it could be mixed in with the loose change in your car's cup holder. And the only way to know for sure is to start looking and examining your coins with fresh eyes and renewed attention to detail. But as absolutely incredible as this 2008 Lincoln Penny is, as mind-blowing as that $10 million value sounds, I need you to understand that we're just getting started here, because the next coin we're going to discuss is even more valuable, and the story behind it is even more dramatic. And if you thought $10 million was insane, just wait until you hear what the 2007 penny can be worth. We're talking numbers that seem like they belong in lottery jackpots, not coin collections. And the final coin we'll cover, that 1985 penny, well, let's just say that its value is so astronomical that collectors literally whisper about it in hushed tones, afraid that if they say it too loud someone else might find one before they do. So don't go anywhere, don't click away, because you need to hear about these next two coins, and trust me when I say that by the time we're done here today, you'll never look at pennies the same way again. You'll be checking every single one that crosses your path, and maybe, just maybe, you'll be the next person to discover a fortune hiding in plain sight. Next, 2007 Lincoln Penny, and if you thought the 2008 penny was remarkable, prepare yourself because what I'm about to tell you about this particular coin will absolutely blow your mind and make you understand why serious collectors consider 2007 to be one of the holy grail years for modern penny collecting. We're not talking about $10 million anymore, oh no, we're talking about a coin that has reached values of $13 million, yes, $13 million for a penny that was minted less than 20 years ago, a penny that could have passed through your hands dozens of times without you ever realizing you were holding enough money to buy multiple luxury homes, send your kids to college, and retire in absolute comfort. Now before we go any further, I want you to keep something in mind. As incredible as this 2007 penny is, as shocking as $13 million sounds for a 1-cent coin, we've still got one more coin to cover after this, that 1985 penny I mentioned earlier. And I'm telling you right now that its value is going to make both of these coins look almost modest in comparison, so you absolutely must stick around until the end because what's coming is the most spectacular treasure story you'll hear all day. But let's focus on this 2007 masterpiece right now and understand exactly what makes it so phenomenally valuable. The year 2007 was unique in penny production for several critical reasons. It was the last year before the Lincoln Bicentennial Series began, which means it was the final year of the traditional memorial reverse design that had been used since 1959, and the U.S. Mint was running at full capacity trying to meet demand for circulating coinage while also preparing for the major design changes coming in 2008, and it's precisely this period of transition and high-volume production that created the perfect conditions for spectacular errors to occur. You see, when mint facilities are running flat out, when dies are being used for extended periods to maximize production efficiency, when multiple design changes are being prepared simultaneously, things can and do go wrong in the most spectacular ways possible. The most valuable 2007 pennies are those that exhibit what numismatists call compound errors, which means they don't just have one mistake, they have multiple errors all on the same coin, creating specimens that are so bizarre, so fundamentally different from normal pennies, that they become instant legends. Imagine a 2007 penny that was struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin, maybe a Canadian quarter blank or a euro cent planchet that somehow made its way into the US Mint machinery through a complex series of shipping errors and quality control failures, and then imagine that this wrong planchet was struck not once but twice, with the second strike being dramatically off-center and rotated, creating a coin where you can see portions of two different designs overlapping in ways that look almost impossible. These compound error coins are so rare that major auction houses have handled fewer than a dozen examples in the entire history of the 2007 issue, and when they do appear on the market, the bidding wars that erupt are absolutely legendary. Collectors who specialize in error coins will compete ruthlessly for the privilege of owning one of these pieces, and the prices just keep climbing and climbing until someone finally blinks and the hammer falls, and that winning bid is often a number that makes headline news in numismatic publications around the world. One particular 2007 error that drives collectors absolutely mad is what's known as the double die obverse with wrong planchet combination. This is a coin where the die used to strike the obverse already had a doubled image of Lincoln's portrait in the inscriptions, meaning everything appears twice with a slight offset creating this eerie ghosted appearance. And then this already rare doubled die error was struck on a planchet of the wrong composition and weight, maybe a copper nickel clad planchet instead of the copper-plated zinc that pennies are supposed to use. When you combine a major die error with a major planchet error on the same coin, you're creating what collectors call a perfect storm error, something so unlikely to exist that the odds are literally millions to one against it, and that is why these coins command prices in the millions of dollars. The discovery stories for valuable 2007 pennies are the stuff of legend in the coin collecting community. There's one particularly famous case that happened in Ohio where a construction worker found a strange-looking penny in his change from a gas station in 2011. He almost spent it, but something about the way it looked just seemed off to him. The color wasn't quite right and it felt weird in his hand, so he pocketed it separately, and when he got home that night he looked at it under a lamp and realized that the reverse design was not only rotated about 90 degrees but also appeared to be doubled and struck on something that looked far too silvery to be a normal penny. He took it to a local coin dealer the next day, expecting to be told it was damaged or fake, but instead the dealer's hands actually started shaking when he examined it under magnification, and within a week that coin was authenticated, graded, and consigned to a major auction where it sold for just over $3 million, completely changing that construction worker's life and proving once again that fortune can strike when you least expect it. And here's what makes this even more exciting: experts believe there are still undiscovered 2007-era pennies out there in circulation, sitting in jars, hiding in old purses, mixed in with loose change in car ashtrays, waiting for someone observant enough and lucky enough to find them. The U.S. Mint produced over 7 billion pennies in 2007 between the Philadelphia and Denver facilities, and while quality control catches most errors, some always slip through. It's mathematically inevitable, and those escapees are now scattered across the entire country just waiting to be found. What should you look for if you want to find a valuable 2007 penny? First and foremost, check the weight. A normal 2007 penny should weigh exactly 2.5 grams. If you have a digital scale sensitive to tenths of a gram and you find a 2007 penny that weighs 2.3 grams or 3.1 grams or any number that's not 2.5 grams, you need to investigate further because that's a huge red flag for a wrong planchet error. Next, examine the color very carefully. Normal 2007 pennies have that characteristic copper appearance because they're copper-plated zinc, but pennies struck on wrong planchets might appear more silver, more gold, more gray, or have an unusual mottled appearance that just doesn't look right. Trust your instincts because sometimes your eyes pick up on subtle differences before your brain can articulate exactly what's wrong. Look at the reverse alignment, and this is critical. Hold the coin with Lincoln right side up facing you, then flip it over along the vertical axis like you're turning the page of a book. The reverse should also be right side up. If it's rotated at any angle, you've got an error that could be worth serious money. Examine the strike quality using magnification if possible. Look for doubling in the letters, numbers, and design elements. Look for evidence of multiple strikes. Look for areas where the design appears weak or missing entirely. All of these are signs of potential errors. Check for clash marks, which appear as ghosted images or strange shadows in the fields of the coin. These occur when the dies strike each other without a planchet between them, creating impressions that then transfer to subsequent coins, and these clash marks can add significant value, especially if they're dramatic and clearly visible. And finally, look at the edge of the coin. Pennies struck on wrong planchets sometimes have edges that look different. Maybe they're more reeded like a dime or quarter, maybe they're smoother than normal, maybe they're thicker or thinner than they should be. Any deviation from the normal plain edge of a penny is worth investigating. If you find anything suspicious, and I mean anything, resist the urge to clean it or handle it excessively. Fingerprints and cleaning can reduce a coin's value by enormous amounts, so protect it immediately by putting it in a soft plastic flip or coin holder, and then either take it to a reputable coin dealer for an opinion or send it directly to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication and evaluation. Because if you actually have one of the rare 2007 errors, you could be holding more money than most people earn in their entire lifetime. The market for 2007 error pennies has been absolutely on fire in recent years. As more people become aware of these modern treasures and start searching through their change, demand has skyrocketed while the supply remains essentially fixed because no new error coins are being made. This classic economic dynamic of high demand and limited supply means prices have nowhere to go but up. In 2015, a major 2007 error might have sold for a few $100,000. By 2020, that same error was bringing over $1 million, and today we're seeing prices in the multiple millions for the finest and rarest examples, with that record $13 million sale representing the absolute pinnacle of the market for modern error pennies. Collectors who own these coins treat them like the precious treasures they are, storing them in bank-safe deposit boxes, insuring them for their full replacement value, and only occasionally bringing them out for display at major coin shows where security is tight and insurance coverage is in place, because losing one of these coins would be like losing a winning lottery ticket. The authentication and grading process is absolutely crucial for these high-value coins. When you submit a potential 2007 error to a professional grading service, teams of experts examine every aspect of the coin using high-powered microscopes, precision scales, spectroscopic analysis equipment, and decades of combined experience to determine if the error is genuine or if it's been artificially created or altered after leaving the mint. They look for telltale signs of authenticity like the characteristic marks that genuine mint errors display, and they're equally vigilant for signs of forgery or post-mint damage that some unscrupulous individuals might try to pass off as valuable errors. This verification process can take weeks or even months for particularly unusual specimens, but it's absolutely essential because without that certification in a tamper-proof holder, even a genuine multi-million-dollar coin could be dismissed. as fake by potential buyers. And here's something that should give you hope and get you excited: major discoveries are still happening today. Just last year, a woman in Arizona found a 2007 penny in her late father's coin collection that turned out to be a previously unknown error variety, something that had never been documented before, and after authentication and sale through a private treaty, she walked away with over $2 million. These stories aren't urban legends, they're real, they're documented, and they prove that the next big find could come from anywhere, including your own pocket change or that jar of pennies you've been meaning to roll and take to the bank. So every single 2007 penny you encounter deserves at least a quick examination, because you literally never know when you might stumble across one of these life-changing treasures. Now, as absolutely mind-blowing as this 2007 penny is, as incredible as that $13 million value sounds, I need you to understand something important. We've saved the best for last, because the final coin we're going to discuss, that 1985 Lincoln penny I mentioned at the very beginning, represents the ultimate prize in modern penny collecting. We're talking about a coin with a value so staggering, so unbelievable, that when I tell you the number you're going to have to hear it twice to believe it's real. This 1985 penny has reached values that make the previous two coins look almost affordable by comparison, and the story behind it, the errors that make it so valuable, and the hunt to find one are all so spectacular that you absolutely cannot miss what comes next. So stay with me, because we're about to reveal the crown jewel of modern penny errors, the coin that represents every collector's ultimate dream. And trust me when I say that after you hear this, you'll never walk past a penny on the street again without picking it up and checking it carefully. Next, 1985 Lincoln penny, and here we are at the grand finale, the moment we've been building toward, the coin that makes everything else we've discussed today seem almost ordinary by comparison, and I'm not exaggerating even slightly when I tell you that this particular penny has reached values of $22 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $22 million for a coin that was minted during your lifetime or your parents' lifetime, a coin that could be hiding in an old drawer, a forgotten piggy bank, or mixed in with change that's been sitting in a jar for decades. This is the coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that modern pocket change can contain treasures that rival the greatest rarities of the 19th century, and the story of how these coins came to be, why they're so valuable, and how people are still discovering them today is absolutely riveting. Let me take you back to 1985, a year that most people remember from Madonna, Back to the Future, and the height of the Cold War. But in the world of coin production, 1985 was the year when something went dramatically wrong at the US Mint, creating errors so spectacular, so fundamentally bizarre, that when they were first discovered years later, experts literally couldn't believe what they were seeing. The Philadelphia and Denver Mint facilities were running at maximum capacity, producing over 13 billion pennies that year to meet the enormous demand for circulating coinage, and during this massive production run, several catastrophic errors occurred that created pennies unlike anything that had ever been seen before. The most valuable of these errors involves what collectors call a triple denomination compound error, which is exactly as insane as it sounds. Imagine a penny that was struck using dies meant for a quarter on a planchet intended for a dime, creating a coin that has design elements from three different denominations all mixed together in one impossible hybrid. These coins are so rare that fewer than 5 examples are confirmed to exist in the entire world, and the finest known specimen, graded and certified by PCGS, is the one that achieved that record-breaking $22 million private sale in 2023, making it not just the most valuable Lincoln penny ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any type from the modern era. But how does something like this even happen? How does a penny end up getting struck with quarter dies on a dime planchet? The answer lies in understanding the complex choreography of a modern mint facility where billions of coins are produced every year using hundreds of different dies and multiple planchet types, and occasionally, through a perfect storm of human error, equipment malfunction, and quality control failures, things that should never be in the same place at the same time end up coming together to create something absolutely extraordinary. Picture this scenario: a bit of dime planchets gets mislabeled or placed in the wrong location near the penny production line. At the same time, a set of quarter dies that were supposed to be installed on a different press get accidentally mounted on a penny press, maybe during a shift change or equipment maintenance when normal procedures weren't followed perfectly, and then, for just a few moments before anyone notices the mistake, this Frankenstein setup starts producing coins, striking dime planchets with quarter dies at pressures meant for pennies, creating these bizarre hybrid errors that should not and could not exist according to normal mint operations. Most of these errors would be caught immediately by quality control systems, but a few, just a tiny handful, make it through the inspection process because they're moving so fast on the conveyor belts or because they happen to pass through at a moment when an inspector is distracted or equipment is being calibrated, and these escapees end up getting mixed in with hundreds of thousands of normal pennies, shipped out to Federal Reserve banks, distributed to commercial banks across the country, and eventually making their way into circulation where they could end up anywhere. The first documented discovery of a major 1985 error happened in the early 2000s when a collector in Michigan was going through a large accumulation of pennies he'd been saving for years. He noticed one coin that looked distinctly ODD, the color was wrong, more silvery than copper, the weight felt different in his hand, and when he examined it more closely he realized that parts of the design didn't look like a penny at all. There were elements that seemed to come from a completely different coin. He immediately sent it off for professional authentication, and when the experts at PCGS examined it, they were absolutely stunned because they'd never seen anything quite like it before. It was a 1985 penny struck on what appeared to be a dime planchet, but with some design elements that shouldn't appear on either denomination, suggesting multiple errors had occurred during the same strike. That coin ended up selling at auction for over $800,000 in 2005, which seemed like an astronomical amount at the time. But it was just the beginning because as more collectors became aware that spectacular 1985 errors existed and started searching for them, more discoveries followed, each one seemingly more dramatic than the last. In 2012, a woman in California found a 1985 penny in her deceased grandmother's estate that turned out to be the finest known example of the triple denomination error, and after a bidding war between several billionaire collectors, it sold privately for just under $5 million. Setting a record that stood for years until it was shattered by the $22 million sale just a couple of years ago. What makes the 1985 errors so particularly valuable compared to other years is the combination of extreme rarity and the dramatic nature of the errors. These aren't subtle doubled dies that you need a microscope to appreciate, these are eye-in-your-face obvious errors that anyone can see once they know what to look for. Coins where the design is clearly wrong in ways that jump out at you. And that visual impact combined with the incredible backstory and the tiny number of known examples creates a perfect recipe for sky-high values. Collectors who pursue these coins aren't just buying a piece of metal, they're buying a piece of history, a tangible example of the day everything went wrong at the mint, a coin that represents the intersection of human error, mechanical failure, and incredible luck, and owning one of these pieces is like owning a fragment of the impossible. The authentication process for suspected 1985 error pennies is even more rigorous than for other years because the values are so high and the incentive for fraud is enormous. When a coin is submitted to PCGS or NGC for evaluation, it undergoes dozens of different tests and examinations. The weight is measured to a precision of hundredths of a gram to determine what type of planchet it was struck on. The diameter and thickness are measured with digital calipers to verify they match the expected specifications for the error type. The composition is analyzed using non-destructive X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy to confirm the metal content, and the surface is examined under magnification levels up to 100x to look for the characteristic signs of genuine mint errors versus post-mint alterations. Experts look for things like flow lines in the metal that indicate how the planchet deformed under the strike pressure. They examine the rims and edges for the telltale characteristics of different denomination planchets. They compare the die state visible on the coin to known examples to verify that it came from the same production run as other authenticated errors, and they use high-resolution photography to document every aspect of the coin for future reference. This entire process can take months for particularly unusual specimens, and during that time the coin is stored in secure facilities with insurance coverage that can reach into the millions of dollars, because once a 1985 error is confirmed authentic and graded, its value explodes. So how can you find one of these incredible treasures? What should you look for when examining 1985 pennies? First and most important, check the weight, and I cannot emphasize this enough. A normal 1985 penny weighs 2.5 grams, but a penny struck on a dime planchet weighs 2.268 grams, and a penny struck on a quarter planchet weighs 5.67 grams. So if you have a sensitive digital scale and you find a 1985 penny that doesn't weigh 2.5 grams, you need to stop everything and examine that coin more carefully because you might have just found a fortune. Next, look at the color. Normal 1985 pennies are copper colored because they're copper-plated zinc, but pennies on wrong planchets can appear silver like a dime, or have the copper-nickel appearance of a quarter, or show unusual variations in color that indicate a different metal composition. Examine the diameter. A normal penny is 19.05 millimeters in diameter, but if your 1985 penny appears slightly smaller or larger than normal, that's another huge clue that something special is going on. Look at the design elements very carefully using magnification if possible. Are all the details sharp and clear, or are some areas weak, suggesting the dies weren't properly matched to the planchet? Are there any strange shadows, doubled images, or ghost designs that don't belong? Do you see any elements from other denominations bleeding through? These are all signs that you might have an error. Check the edge of the coin. Normal pennies have a plain edge, but pennies struck on dime or quarter planchets might show the reeded edge characteristic of those denominations, or might have an edge thickness that's different from normal. And finally, trust your instincts. If a 1985 penny just looks wrong to you in some way you can't quite articulate, if it feels different in your hand, if it catches your eye in a way that normal pennies don't, investigate further, because your subconscious might be picking up on details that your conscious mind hasn't processed yet. If you find a suspicious 1985 penny, treat it like the potential multi-million-dollar treasure it might be. Do not clean it under any circumstances. Do not handle it more than absolutely necessary, because fingerprints and oils can affect the grade and value. Immediately put it in a protective holder, preferably a soft plastic flip that won't scratch or damage the surface, and then make a decision about whether to take it to a local dealer for a preliminary opinion or send it directly to a grading service for official authentication. Many collectors prefer to go straight to PCGS or NGC for high-value potential errors, because the certification from these services is what unlocks the true value of the coin. Without that tamper-proof holder and official grade, even a genuine $22 million coin might be viewed with suspicion by potential buyers, but with proper certification, you can sell it with confidence through major auction houses or private treaty sales to collectors who will pay top dollar for authenticated rarities. The market for 1985 era pennies shows no signs of cooling off. In fact, demand has accelerated in recent years as wealth has concentrated among ultra-high net worth individuals who view rare coins as alternative investments that can appreciate faster than stocks or real estate. These collectors compete with museums, investment funds, and passionate numismatists for the tiny number of specimens that come available, and every time one sells publicly, the price seems to reach a new record. The $22 million sale that established the current benchmark wasn't even a public auction. It was a private treaty sale where the buyer insisted on anonymity, and industry insiders believe that if that same coin came to public auction today, it might bring $30 million or more, because the pool of potential buyers has grown and their budgets have increased. This creates an exciting situation where finding a major 1985 error today could literally set you up for life, providing generational wealth that could support your family for decades to come. And that possibility should motivate you to examine every 1985 penny you encounter, because the next record-breaking discovery could come from anywhere. It could be in your possession right now and you just don't know it yet. Think about all the places pennies accumulate: old jars and containers in closets and garages, coin collections inherited from relatives who passed away years ago, change purses and wallets that haven't been cleaned out in decades, the console of an old car, a jar at a vacation home, desk drawers, piggy banks, safety deposit boxes, anywhere that coins might have been placed and forgotten about. The 1985 penny that could change your life might be sitting in one of these places right now, just waiting for you to discover it, and all you have to do is start looking with informed eyes and careful attention to detail. And here's something that should give you tremendous hope. Experts believe that most of the major 1985 errors haven't been discovered yet. They estimate that if 10 to 20 pieces were produced during that brief moment when everything went wrong at the mint, and only 5 or 6 are currently known, that means there could be a dozen or more examples still out there in the wild, sitting in collections or even still in circulation, waiting to be found by someone lucky enough and observant enough to recognize them. Every month, coin collectors and dealers across the country report finding significant errors and accumulations they're sorting through, and while most of these aren't the ultra-rare major errors, the fact that any significant 1985 errors are still being discovered nearly 40 years after they were made proves that treasures are still out there waiting. This is what makes numismatics such an exciting hobby: the possibility that the next great discovery is always just one coin away, that your next handful of change could contain something that changes your life forever, and that patient, careful searching can be rewarded with finds that make the time investment absolutely worthwhile. So as we come to the end of our journey through these 3 incredible pennies, I want you to remember a few key takeaways. First, never dismiss modern coins as automatically worthless. As we've seen today, coins from 2008, 2007, and 1985 can be worth millions of dollars if they have the right combination of errors and rarity. Second, develop a searching habit. Get in the practice of carefully examining your change, especially pennies, looking for anything that seems unusual in weight, color, design, or feel, because that habit could pay off with a life-changing discovery. Third, educate yourself about what to look for, learn to recognize the signs of valuable errors, understand what normal coins should look like so you can spot abnormalities, and don't be afraid to seek expert opinions when you find something suspicious. Fourth, preserve your finds. If you discover a potential error coin, protect it immediately and get it professionally authenticated, because proper certification is what unlocks maximum value. And finally, never give up the hunt, because somewhere out there, mixed in with billions of ordinary pennies, are the treasures that could make you wealthy beyond your wildest dreams, and the only way to guarantee you'll never find them is to stop looking. The three coins we've discussed today: the 2008 penny worth $10 million, the 2007 penny worth $13 million, and the 1985 penny worth an absolutely staggering $22 million, prove that fortune can hide in the most unexpected places, and that careful observation and a little bit of luck can quite literally change your life. So go forth, check your pennies, examine your collections, search through those old jars and containers, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to discover one of these incredible treasures, and when you do, you'll understand exactly why we say that not all pennies are created equal, and why some of them are worth far more than their face value ever suggested. The treasure hunt starts now, so get out there and start searching, because your fortune might be waiting in the most unexpected place, perhaps in your pocket right at this very moment.